right? Because I'm more scared about talking about Wuthering Waves than anybody else. All right, let's see what this is saying then. All right, I gotta be careful about what I say, right? Because if I speak, I will be in trouble. We all know what happened with my 3.0 bike take, which I still stand by the way. Of course, I do believe my video was poorly made, badly framed. I didn't express myself eloquently or well at all. But let's see what Mephisto has got to say and why Wuthering Waves has changed. I don't know what he's going to be talking about here specifically, but let's get into it. Let's have a look.
Wuthering Waves is a game that throughout its release has changed a lot, and it has become a game
True.
that you cannot really compare to 1.0 anymore.
I think that's fair, right? I was called crazy for saying when I looked at 3.0 of saying it doesn't feel like it looks like WoA or feel like WoA. And if you go back to 1.0, again, I rolled that back, that feel, because it's totally just my own interpretation. But at the same time, I somewhat think it's right, like, and it doesn't have to mean it's a bad thing, right? Progression and change can wholeheartedly be good, and obviously it's up to people how they take that change, right? But yeah, man, look at the modes of transport we've got, the different things we've got added into the game, the new systems, transducers, stuff like that.
And the more Wuthering Waves changed, the more I started realizing that it started distancing itself more and more from the things that made me fall in love with Wuthering Waves in the first place.
Okay.
And after going through both 3.0
You're not allowed to say this. You're not allowed to say this.
and 3.1.
The bike's not good. I'm not a fan of it. I don't mind modes of transport in my games. I feel like the bike in Wuthering Waves is so powerful. It's been a massive change in how the world's designed to the point where I'm not a fan of it, right? I don't find the exploration enjoyable. It didn't look like it was going to be enjoyable to me. And then after I tried it, I was like, yeah, this is not for me. First few minutes, it's like, hey, woo, running around on the bike. And then I was just like, I kind of prefer like true exploration or doing open world games. Not saying that's not, but just how I interpret it.
I can sadly pretty much 100% say that Wuthering Waves is not the game anymore that originally pulled me in and made me play it 8 hours a day. I also want to say that this will be the last video of this sort, as I firmly believe that the current direction of the game is the final one, and that this is the direction.
I agree. I said this. I think, don't get me wrong, I think Flight is a cool addition, and I think bikes can be a cool addition. I think you have to design the world and fit utility into it, in my opinion, rather than create the world around utility. And I think my worries now, that's specifically regarding exploration. I know he's probably going to talk about other things, but specifically exploration, I think that's the journey we're on now, is each new space will be, right, this is the utility, the world gets built around it. And that can be fun, right? That can be fun, just for me. It's not so much something that I'm wildly interested in. Unless I come out with something super interesting, then maybe I'll change my mind.
Direction Kuro wants Wuthering Waves to go. So I will just one last time talk in detail about everything, and after that pretty much not mention it anymore. Now before we dive in case you're not a long-time viewer, I have been with Wuthering Waves since basically even before the release, since I was lucky enough to get CBT2 access.
Oh, nice.
And I was obviously super hooked by a combat-oriented Souls-like gacha game. So I have...
The combat is fire. Like, the combat is good. Right, whatever you say about meta and character kits and stuff, as just fundamentally a gameplay mechanic loop, a style of gameplay, it is good. It is really good.
I've been there for basically everything. Keep in mind that pretty much everything I'm going to say is 100% objective, and that I am, objectively speaking...
Well, I think you misspoke there, more. Oh, buddy, you're not allowed to have subjective takes anyway, so you might as well just say it as an objective fact, because people will take it as that.
Wrong with nearly everything, as 3.0 has been the patch with the highest concurrent players on Steam.
Opinion detected.
And 3.1 has already managed to become the highest revenue patch in all of WoWA. This means that the game objectively is doing very good and is going into a very good direction overall, as more people want to play it and more people want to spend money on it. Now, before I start talking about all these me issues, I want to address the actual big problem of Wuthering Waves, which is just objectively something that needs to be addressed, and that's the optimization of the game. This game is a mess at the moment.
I don't think you'll get anybody argue with you on that, right? Like, game file size, the mobile enjoyment. I've heard it's a bit rough on console as well sometimes, because they constantly seem to want to keep stepping things up, which is good for a game. You want that from games, right? You want flashier things, bigger stuff. Not always, it doesn't always work, but you want that. But you know, there's a level where you have to get to where it's like, right, we've got to start optimizing the stuff that we've got before we start layering extra stuff on top of it.
Keeps pushing out to newer and newer regions. And
the game even crashes on GeForce now. Oh, does he? Does it run a little bit poor on PS5?
Becoming worse and worse. This game needs a fix here. And in the worst case, Kuro should just do a super filler patch with no new area, no new characters, and just do a patch solely focused on optimizing the game and making it playable for people. It's just not worth it to keep going like this when a big portion of players can partially not even play the game anymore due to stutters. I personally, thankfully, do not.
Is that actually true? Like, it can't be true, right? Because if it's the most profitable patch, 3.1, as you just said, it can't be true that most people can't play the game anymore. Because you would assume there'd be a dip in revenue, right? It's probably just there's more people vocal about it because it's happening to people more. But it's to a point where people are willing to grit the teeth and push through because they like the game.
Have issues
I'm assuming.
This, but I do acknowledge that they exist, and honestly, they really should be addressed. Moving forward, I want to start off with saying that I absolutely hate the 3.x school setting. I know people love school settings. They do. People love cute, sexy Japanese schoolgirls. I do not.
Hold up. Hold up. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Okay, buddy boy.
And the concept of Rover being the amazing hero who fought and won in the big Colosseum and takes on Frenodians just to become a student and sit in a fucking classroom is just 100% not for me. I know it's not an actual normal school, but it still counts. I just really dislike the setting of it. And to me, it's...
One thing I will say, I actually read, you know, I'm not a massive fan of, like, some of the aesthetics and the themes of 3.0. I do like the way that they try some cassette retro style stuff, and then they've got the more futuristic. I don't know if they necessarily make it work perfectly, but one thing I will say, you know, when you're actually exploring Star Torch Academy, like physically, it's nice. It is nice. I wish the NPCs were a little bit more dynamic in how they went about, and I wish they'd do something about the egregious popping. Like, do something like what Enfield and ZZZ do, where they do that sort of comic book fading, you know, where you see like the silhouette and it's all grey and then the popping, so it doesn't feel like that in-out kind of thing, because it's quite jarring, because especially when you're playing on PC and you dial it up to max, there's a lot of people in Star Torch Academy, and you just get like groups of half a dozen people or so popping as you're moving around, and it's like, it's a bit disappointing, you know, because it's immersive to have all those NPCs there, and then it takes away as they're just appearing out of thin air kind of thing.
Like watching the chef jerk off and shoot the nastiest load imaginable onto my plate. No matter how good the soup after that is.
Bro, he's giving me images, man. Bro, stop.
I will feel disgusted and will not like the soup. That is the best way for me to describe it. I just dislike the setting, and it's not for me personally.
That's
and that
fair.
results in me rating everything way more harshly overall. I disliked it during 3.1 as well, but thankfully 3.1 was just in general so incredibly good that in that specific case, it did not really matter to
I've heard that the 3.1 story is good, actually. Like, apparently it's emotional. Apparently Gachi Smack didn't get that memo though, right? And then the Woo community were very angry about that.
I was fine eating the soup with cum in it.
Which that whole situation's ridiculous. Oh my god, bro! Bro, what the fuck?
That in that specific case, it did not really matter to me. I was fine eating the soup with cum in it. That
Yo, okay. Alright, bro. I guess let's Let him cook.
That's just how good the soup was. For 3.1,
damn, that's some good soup, man.
It's not about 3.1, but the 3.1 story is by far the best story Wuthering Waves has produced.
I've heard that.
Period.
I've heard that from other people as well, actually.
And slow start, but
what's
after
up,
it
Isaac?
starts picking up pace, it absolutely bulldozes any other story Wuthering Waves has ever produced.
I've heard this as well.
But
I've seen a lot of people come into this consensus.
Wuthering Waves story formula in general. Keep in mind that 3.1 does not really count that much towards what I'm going to say now.
Okay.
Because it's an anomaly, just like 2.5 for example was. But this is pretty much applicable to most other standard Wuva stories. So Wuthering Waves story formula has not changed since pretty much 1.0 and has been bothering me pretty much since release. They use the same concept.
It was one of the reasons I started to get fatigued with the game, right? It just feels like, hold on a second, have I been here before? I'm getting deja vu, you know, with a slight tweak, which some people love that, right? You know, they love the whole thing of like, it's an episodic show of, you know, we're doing the same thing, you know, it's the murder mystery kind of thing. It's the same thing kind of each episode, right? With obviously a different setting, some different characters, the same core cast, and you know, there's some different outcomes here and there, but it's pretty much this formulaic, right? And that, you know, episodic shows can be great. They can be awesome, right? It was a thing for me. I was getting a little bit tired of the story in Wuthering Waves personally, but I couldn't get past that. You know, I can play games and not really care about the story. It was just like, you know, when it came to the end game and events and lack of them for quite a while for me as well, that got me starting to be burned out on WoW. And then just that fucking disrespect of the Depths of Elusive Realms as well. That should piss me off.
Consistent formula of Rover being the cool, strong main character, as well as having the female hero of the patch who then gets forgotten, and then we move on to the next patch with, you know, the next female cast. This obviously becomes an issue if you're not interested in the wife of the patch, but it overall works. The formula is not bad, and it's so consistent that it results in Wuva not really being able to produce a bad story, so to speak. It kind of becomes capped at average, because it's always the same and results in your average hero isekai-like story.
I think that's a fair take. I think I somewhat agree with that. I think, you know, there was parts of 1.0 that were fucking rough, right? But I think overall, Wiwa's story, it's just there, right? It's kind of just there. It's kind of like how Enfield is at the moment, at least. It's not bad. It's not amazing. It's got ups and downs, you know, like the Certa quest, love it, right? In comparison to like Arc Knights and normal, you know, high quality stories, it's nothing special, but it's just there, you know? And that's fine sometimes. That's enough, I think, for a lot of people, right? I think just over time, you start to just not care, right? The first few patches, you can be like, okay, this is cool, I'm invested. And then, you know, you're just like, after a while, you're just like, okay. And if there isn't other stuff keeping you hanging on, if you lose that immersion and investment from the story, it can be a problem, right?
If you know what I mean. Sometimes you will have insane outliers like 2.5 or 3.1, but in general, this is
I loved 1.1, I did. I actually really enjoyed 1.1.
Majority of patches and stories in the game. You could say
2.0
that the
was good as
entire
well.
story of Wuthering Waves 100% fully rotates around Rover, with other characters having basically minimal interactions with one another. It's just the characters.
They're window dressing. The world, everything in Wuthering Waves is window dressing for Rover. And some people love that. Some people love that.
Having, you know, a storyline to Rover who's in the center, and you just have like all these different story branches going from Rover, and they're just all rotating.
It's just a subjective thing at the end of the day, stories, right?
Stories like 2.7 also kind of prove to me that this kind of story structure just isn't for me. Where they try to pull off a big Avengers Endgame-like moment where the entire cast comes together, but it ended up feeling insanely shallow, as the characters themselves had not a lot of connections with one another.
Yeah, like, it kind of feels forced. When they do anything like this, it kind of feels forced because they don't have reoccurring roles in enough spots paced well and have meaning for them, as you say. Honestly, this is the way I describe Wiwa's story and world to me. And again, this doesn't mean it's bad, right? I'm not saying it's bad. It's just, this is how I personally feel. It feels like walking through an office building at night, right? and you've got automatic lighting that's based on movement. So you're always in the light. It's dark behind you and it's dark in front of you kind of thing. That's wooer. Right. But again, I'm not saying that's bad. Some people love that. Some people want an self-insert, main character, power fantasy. I'm here to collect the wives. I'm here to be the hero all the time. You know, the story has its aura farming moments because obviously you want that. It's like kind of like a shonen adventure, right? It's kind of like a shonen adventure. And there's awesome shonen stuff, right? I just think, I suppose, like, in regards to an investment level for me, it just starts to wane after a while. It's like, how long can you keep it going? You know?
Characters that literally only talk to Rover, and that was it. This was never an issue to me as I never played Rover for the story anyways. But since Wuthering Waves has decided to go more into the direction of a story-focused game, this has become an increasingly bigger and bigger issue to me. Which brings me to
even people like Saint had a problem with that at that one point, right? You know, when what was it, like 100 odd days without combat events in a game that's got such good combat and not the best story. It was insane move by Kuro, that was, really.
Second big part of it, the combat. For those who don't know, Wuthering
Target
Waves
audience is shonen genre teens after all. Yeah, true.
Combat-focused game. It was the main selling point of the game during CBT 1.
I mean, it was like the lamest shonen ever, to be honest.
Having a combat-focused gacha game
that
not only offers complex combat, but also very challenging gameplay. Sometimes that gameplay was so hard that we would just straight up hate it. I'm talking about you, Pincher Maneuver. Now, ever since 2.0, Wuthering Waves obviously had their big rebranding, where the game got kinda rediscovered and finally started really popping off. This is where Kuro slowly started changing the game. There would be way more emphasis on stories, and we would also start getting more and more casual minigame events, with combat becoming less and less. Which brings us even to today, where combat has overall become minimal.
It's wild as well, because like I wanted more minigames stuff. Like I was actually screaming for more, because I do like minigames in my gacha games, right? But it has to have balance. They have to be enjoyable. They have to have some replayability to them, but not be massive. And then don't take away from combat stuff as well. Like, you got to have that stuff there as well. You have to get a balance. I think a game that does a really good job at that for me is Zenless. I think Zenless does a really good job at balancing combat and having a shit ton of just silly little events. Like, you know, remember when the fishing event first came out? When the fishing event first came out, I was like, fuck. And it is good. Technically, I think it's cool. It's genuinely a cool event, but it was just like you start playing. You're like, oh, no, this is dope. Okay, I'm enjoying this, and then it just carried on and carried on and carried on, and it was just like, holy fuck, bro! This is like, it feels like it was just bloated, like, and really didn't have anything that was worthy in terms of progression and value to it that gave it that reason for being so bloated. You know what I mean?
And we have reached the dreaded point that Honkai Star Rail already reached.
Didn't mind the fishing event. I loved it when it first came out. I did. But I'd rather them do, like, again, as I say, I was bloated, and after a while, it was like, okay, all right. But I just think I'd rather them, instead of putting so much into one thing like that and making it so big, just give us some good vertical slices here and there that really, you know, have some quality to them.
I was praying to God would never happen to Wuthering Waves. But we have finally reached a point where if you pull the newest character off the banner, you can quite literally only use them in endgame. You do the 3.1
I don't know what that means. I ain't been playing for a while, so I ain't too sure.
Play some Yu-Gi-Oh! Because fuck you.
All I'll say about Wu's endgame is it's trash. That's like... Even before I stopped playing it, I stopped caring about Terraversity, Whimpering Waste, stuff like that. You know, the last bit of, I guess, endgame type content that I played that I really enjoyed in Woo was, shit, man. What was that? That protocol. I keep forgetting the name of it. The protocol mode. You know, where you could add, like, you could add the buffs or the debuff. I forgot what it's called, man. Protocol Crisis or Crisis Protocol or Virtual Crisis? I can't fucking remember. It was kind of like the closest thing I can compare it to in terms of the way you add stuff. It was kind of like CC and Arknights, maybe. Virtual Crisis, was it? Yeah. That was cool, that was. That was actually cool, right. Yeah, man. Like, things like the Terraversity. I just... they're not interesting to me. So I suppose that meta wouldn't bother me now. Like, if that's the case, right? I don't know if it is because I don't play the game, so I can't comment on meta. But if that was the case, I probably wouldn't care too much because I don't care about the end game in the game. I'd just pull the characters I like, so I suppose I'll be all right with that regard.
Want to use her, you can just go and do random TOA.
It was cool, but it was still way too easy.
all over again.
I think it had promise. Do you know what I mean? It was a cool idea. It was just... I think Kuro have done that a lot. Like, the Depths of Elusive Realm, they had this insanely dope thing. And then they just, like, pushed it to the wayside, and it was like, that's really cool. But I worry... in my head, I'm like, maybe they want molds that seem fun, but are more about meta, where those molds are not necessarily so much about meta. They're more about expression. Do you know what I mean? Where they're going to need more molds that are more stat-stick molds, right? Because that sells characters at the end of the day. Just go back to this sec.
Some Yu-Gi-Oh! Because fuck you. If you want to use her, you can just go and do random TOA runs. It's genuinely HSR all over again. They even make most of the new holograms resistant to the current banner character, so you cannot even try her against
I do love hologram fights in Wura though. That was my favourite end-game content in the game.
Story that I think is the primary reason my
where the combat's shown.
The game is fading. Where the great combat that I loved is pretty much just used in endgame nowadays, and at the same time I do not like the story structure of Wuthering Waves, which results in the story not being able to fill up that big gap that is now there, with combat being less and less of a focus. And obviously it also hurts me to know how big and great and in-depth Wuva's combat is, and to see it not get used at all anymore outside of endgame. It's obviously just insanely wasted potential. At the same time, all of this makes perfect sense, and as we can see from all the rising numbers, is a very good direction for the game, as it's now very accessible for casual players who just want to experience a fun story and some cutesy mini game events. And well,
if it's working, it's working, right? And if it's working, they're going to continue in that direction, aren't they, as well? So, you know, I can't blame them, really.
I obviously preferred the direction of 1.x. If the game
kept
going in that direction, it would have stayed very niche. And I am glad, of course, that the game is doing very well.
That's good to see.
In the mainstream, that it's just doing this good. That it's
see, a lot of people think I'm a Wua hater, right? I really liked Wuthering Waves. I was a day one player. I was a content creator for it. I was a Wua CC for a while, right? Even though I've stopped playing the game, and I have some issues with how some of the CCs in the space and the community, minority of that space, handles things, right? And I have issues with parts of the game itself, but I have issues with all games I play. I want Wuthering Waves to be successful. I do. Because, to me, we need games like Wua to be successful and Enfield, whether you like them or not, really. And the reason being for that, for me, is we're getting these games now, and the games that are coming, because of the success that Genshin found, right? Right? And I'm not saying that we want bad practices to succeed necessarily. Obviously, we want them to be best business practices possible and best consumer practices. But the more of these games that have these massive amounts of money poured into them and massive scope and scale and, you know, they're AAA quality, if you will, the more we're going to get of those games, because other companies look. Because what happened, Genshin came out and proved to the space that if you spend a lot of money and really go hard and into production, there's a lot of money on the table to be made. You don't just have to create menu-based games where you collect PNGs, right? You can make serious cash if you spend serious cash. So, like, I want games like Wua to succeed. One, because I know there's a lot of people who enjoy it, and I want people to have the game they enjoy. But two, if Wua succeeds, and if Enfield succeeds, and, you know, we've already got a flurry of other games coming out, we get more and more games, and the genre and the space progresses and expands, and hopefully we get better games in the future, right?
Records. I really am. I mean, after all, I love Wuthering Waves. At the same time, I think the entire Echo Set system has also
no, Enfield the furry game. I don't think so, but some people might think that.
Every single character gets their own tailor-made Echo Set that no one else uses. This is insane to me.
I said this had happened when they started doing the new Sonata sets and stuff. That'd be the way that, like, older characters felt like they started to fall off a little bit. It was inevitable. Again, I don't know the meta that we was in at the moment, so I can't comment on it too much.
It's technically nitpicky, right? Because in the end you still end up farming gear and needing luck with the stats. So, you know, at the end it's always still boils down to the same.
Curls,
but
I
still think that this is genuinely mind-blowing, that this game has like one set per character. As for the exploration, it was the other big thing that I loved about Wuthering Waves, and sadly, even that has now reached a point where it's tedious to me. I do not feel...
Don't say it, bro. Roll it back. Roll it back. Roll it back.
Excitement anymore, sadly, exploring, and both 3.0 and 3.1 felt like chores, and I had a very hard time understanding why, until I played Arknight's Endfield. I'm going to keep this...
Oh, shit. Shit. What the fuck? Okay. Damn. Listen, not everybody will agree. Of course I won't, because there's a lot of people loving the bike and 3.0. I genuinely, look, man, my video I got hammered. I got hammered, right? I got hammered for it. But I still stand by what I was talking about in terms of game design philosophy. I really do. I think once you start to create insanely powerful utility and you build the world around the utility, not the other way round, you start to get uninteresting worlds that make exploring without that utility painfully boring, and with that utility, incredibly unsatisfactory, right? Because after that adrenaline runs out of like, whoa, I'm doing barrel rolls and flippity flips and loop-de-loops and whoa, look at this, I'm grappling up on my bike and it all looks cool and I can get flashy skins for it. And I know some people still love all that and I'm not judging you for it. But for me, in the way I like video game design, that's how I felt about it, right? And that's why I brought Enfield into the conversation, but people thought he's pitting Enfield against Wua. Wasn't. It was just a perfect juxtaposition of two different design philosophies, right? And how I like friction and grounded kind of exploration. And you can do utility, because Silver Palace did it really well, in my opinion. But it had static utility, and you had a horse, but the horse even had restrictions, and the restrictions were tied to the other parts of static utility around the map, and it all kind of worked quite well. Man, I got destroyed for this, and I'm starting to, like, one Twitter account who was actually blasting me, I saw them really talking up Enfield on how good the exploration was, and I was like, even though you might still like Wua, you can see what I'm saying now, right? You can see what I'm saying, right? I just think that first video, I fucked myself because I explained myself so badly, right? But I still stand by you. I still stand by you.
Super short because this video is about Wuthering Waves and not Enfield. But you see, exploring Enfield was super fun and it made me
Enfield is not open world, can't really compare. I think you can. It's not open world, it's semi-open world, but the same fact still applies in regards to how you get around the world and how the world's designed around the utility. You know what I mean? Because if you look at Silver Palace, that's an open world, but it's incredibly dense. It's got a lot of utility. But then you look to Lahar Roy, it's not very dense. It's designed solely around the bike, right? Which is fine. That's good for some people. They love it. It becomes a playground then. But like what they did in Silver Palace, they designed the world and then they fit the utility into the world, if that makes sense. Where I feel like they went the other way with Wuthering Waves, which is fine. That gives you good utility, but I think it gives you a lesser world, personally. Because it's a secondary design philosophy, right? It comes after the utility rather than the other way round. And I'm a big fan of exploring worlds and immersing myself in the worlds.
Your methods
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
Are at a minimum, with you basically only being able to jump and sprint. But I realized that with this very basic amount of movement and traversal, it resulted in me interacting way more with the world of Enfield. And the harsh truth is that I indeed used to explore and interact with the world way more during 1.x, for example, as the traversal...
Man. Bro's spitting, in my opinion, here. Gee. Is anybody calling him a fucking moron in the chat? I still think I got done dirty over that whole day. Doesn't bother me. I found the whole situation funny, but just makes me laugh.
Traversal methods were not as extreme as during 2.x and 3.x. I find myself now basically just rushing through the map.
You uninstalled Enfield, it just wasn't for you. Neil said the same as well. End of the day, it is what it is, right? It's not going to be for everybody. It's not going to be for everybody.
To just be, as there's nothing else to explore really. It does not help that the exploration progress system now feels way more like a bucket list than just telling you how many chests and stuff there is and telling you good luck. Now, do I like
I suppose as well, Enfield does this as well, and I think this is why a lot of people are angry, right, is that currency is attached to world exploration, and I do honestly get the argument where people say, well, I want to be able to explore faster because currency is attached to it, so I need to strip mine the world. It's like, okay, that's fair, but I think it's incumbent on the developer to make that approach enjoyable as well, and maybe if they're going to have to resort to speed, maybe don't add that currency to world exploration and give you other reasons to explore. Again, I think that's why a lot of people really saw Enfield as super stingy, because they were like, I've got to fucking walk around and look for stuff to get currency in the game. And I get that. I don't mind, because I get rewards for exploring and I enjoy exploring, and the exploration methods itself are enjoyable. But to play devil's advocate, I do genuinely see where people are coming from there, where it's like, well, I'm encouraged to strip mine, so of course I'm going to want to be able to strip mine faster. It makes sense, really, when you think about it.
Waves 1.0 exploration, where we basically had nothing except percentage progress bars. As a 1.0 player, abso-fucking-lutely not. 1.0 was torture. It was bad enough that the progress bars were bugged as hell and didn't even show the correct progress. But I think the current progress system is way too hand-holding, and makes exploration just a
that's 3.0 in general when it comes to exploring.
There really isn't much else to explore other than that list. Despite all of this, I will admit, listening to fucking Find Your Flame while driving like a maniac on your bike is truly an insane experience.
The radio stations are fucking cool. I admit they are fucking cool. And like I say, the bike itself isn't bad. Right, I think it's a bit too overpowered. Like a lot of people think, it was saying to me, this dude just doesn't like fun. It's not the case. It's just the implementation, right? It's like people have said, what are you going to do if there's a bike in Enfield? And I'm like, oh, fuck, I don't know. But if they do implement one, as long as it's grounded and fun and the world doesn't drastically change for it, I can take it, and maybe I'll enjoy it. I don't know. But man, like if we got a bike like this in Enfield, it would look stupid because it just wouldn't fit right. Just imagine driving across Valley 4 and like, whoa, barrel rolling and stuff. Like, it'd be fucking weird, man. The voice crack.
I've been there. I've seen it. I'm never gonna stop.
There is a bike model, I know. And we've seen it riding.
Fucking bullshit. I also sadly want to talk about the monetization. I am obviously against spending events, but I don't even want to talk about that. But traversal cosmetics. So during 2.x they released a skin for your flying echo, which I bought, and basically that skin is now completely useless as flying is not a thing anymore. Now this
Yep. The bike skins, right? They should just all be attainable in game or be super cheap. Because how much are they? Are they like $20 or something like that? I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong there. But like the idea that, and I get it, it's a choice, but that you can buy skins for utility in the game, and then the game's like, yeah, you want to get to use that in that area. It's not great, is it really? It's not great. I think if you're going to have region-locked mechanics, make it unlockable in some other way. By all means, sell it if people really want to get it right away, but allow people to grind for it as well, maybe by collecting parts over time and then putting it all together and they get the skin, maybe. I don't know. I think that'd be a good solution, right?
does not really matter since it were only $10, so who the fuck cares?
$10,
but
okay.
There's so many bike.
Oh no, he's talking about the what's he? Oh shit, the €30. Okay, you get some asteroid with as well, but who cares? Okay, these ones are cheaper. Okay, so there is some $10 ones. Fuck. Oh shit, bro. Yeah, man. Yeah, at the end of the day, it is what it is, right? You ain't got to buy it, but still, it'd be nice if you could collect these somehow.
At the moment that you can unironically spend like 100 euros on just bike cosmetics. And if they remove the bike after 3.x and give us a new traversal mechanic for 4.x, then
they've got to, right?
Really
I feel like they have to, because unless they really figure out how to implement the bike into a different map design, because otherwise all the maps are going to start to look the same if the bike is accessible everywhere, right? I'm assuming that that's kind of WoW's thing now. Each major patch will introduce some sort of new gimmick, some new facility to get around the map, right?
It's shitty, as you have no real reason to visit older regions unless you went for a rerun, as all new materials and echoes and events and basically everything is always in the current region. Again,
but even then,
but something that I noticed and that I definitely wanted to mention and talk about. Now, this is obviously the absolute direction of Wuthering Waves, and there's no reason for Kuro to
imagine if I could make the bike rideable on the cell skins too.
The game is being absolutely loved and
listen, man, I'll call out stuff that I like in the game, straight up.
Objectively speaking, I am wrong by every single metric that can be measured at the moment. And these are all
But like, we've got to remember, we have to remember as well, because this was an argument that was used towards Genshin, just because the game is making more money doesn't mean it's a better game. It means it's more successful, and more people are obviously thinking it's a better game, which is all that matters for the people playing it and the company, of course, but it doesn't actually mean it's better, right? Because this is, you know, this is like a fair argument, and it was used against Hoyo for a long time, because that's what people do. Top of the leaderboard, bro. Our game's obviously better. Well, that's not exactly how things work, but from a business standpoint, hey, it's working, right? And it obviously means more people are enjoying it.
100% me issues when we look at the numbers. Now, does all of this mean I'm quitting Wuthering Waves? No, of course not. I think what many people fail to understand about me is that I'm so harsh because I love these games.
Yep, this is what I used to do with WoW as well. People didn't seem to understand it. Like, back when I used to play WoW, like now, the thing is, well, you can't criticize it because you don't play it. But back when I used to play WoW, whenever I'd criticize it, people would come into my comment section and now do Genshin. But it's like, but I'm criticizing this game specifically here anyway, so we're not talking about other games. But two, I'm more critical of the things I like, actually. I will criticize things I've stopped playing, because if it's a conversation worth having, I'll talk about it. But I'm the type of person, why am I going to be super harshly critical about something I don't care about when I'd rather be critical of something I do? Even though I've stopped playing WoW, I haven't, like, quit and never going back. I'm waiting for the game to pull me back in because I like the game. So I'm still going to have a critical thought process about the game because I want it to pull me back in. I understand that I am probably not the target anymore in terms of an audience, and that's fine, but still, I'd like to want to play it again.
I don't like a game, I genuinely do not care what it does. I'm still going to stick with the game, as I definitely want to see the conclusion of AMAF's story, and also want to see what 4.0 is going to look like. And I want to be there when they finally release Ishulin one day, because I know he's coming. I know he will come one day, and I will come with him. I will say, however, that my overall passion has gone severely down for the game. I will not talk about the state of the game anymore, but if changes or things happen, you can expect me to talk about them. But other than some talks and holograms, I do not really see myself do much more on the game, as the direction of it is definitely not catered towards me anymore. I will still be up to date, and you can still expect WoW videos from time to time, but this have been my overall final thoughts on Wuthering Waves. Let me know what you think and where you agree maybe, and especially disagree, because I do know that these are just my thoughts and that I am in the severe minority here. And with all of that, I will hopefully see you in the next one.
Yo, I think this was a good video. I now, do you know what? As a lot of people have at least understood where he's coming from, because 200 likes to 20 dislikes, probably a little bit higher. It's probably more like 30 because it's undercount stuff. For 3.6k views on a small channel, and it seems like overwhelmingly agreeable. The bike is cool, but sadly incompatible with a comfortable exploration pace the overall maps are usually designed around. Okay, yeah, good video, man. I can't talk on the meta or the state of the game right now in regards to that. I agree on a lot of his takes on. I do. Yeah, that was a good video. You know what? I'm gonna subscribe to dude. I like his vibe, man. Yeah, guys, go check out Mephisto. Wuthering Waves has changed.